What's happening, fam? L.A.R movement still moving. Subscribe at that trying. You see the thumbnail. From rags to riches to rags. I thought about that because of the Black Rob's death. So rest in peace to Black Rob. And I've seen this happen a few times in my life where you got brothers who go from rags to riches. They had humble beginnings, and somewhere along the lines, their fortunes turned and they wind up having riches. And what was the consensus about that was, you know, they kind of they weren't fiscally responsible, but it's really understandable to in a way of thinking that, you know what, I'm going to splurge a little bit because I didn't have much to begin with. But then it extends past the splurge, and you might wind up doing a lot for family. You might wind up doing a lot for friends because your whole family and friend circle is from your humble beginnings, and you want to treat them to nice things too. But it could go horribly wrong when you see people who've made a certain amount of money, and people say you rich, like you should get this, you should get this, and then you get things like you're rich off of the assumption that you're gonna keep getting the amount of money that you got, which is normally a bad assumption because work with what you got. If you hit a new plateau, work with that. You hit a new plateau, work with that. But I remember there's a guy who went from rags to riches, and a few years later, he was back in the projects on crack because basically he lived his life. How can I say this? Trying to be delicate. When he got his riches, he had a ball. You get what I'm saying? But what wound up happening was it ended abruptly, and he didn't know how to handle that part of it. And then you wind up in a situation where, ain't you such and such? Ain't blah blah blah? What you doing here? Ran into a few other brothers like that. You've seen them in places, in spaces, and you're like, man, they went from rags to riches. And sometimes y'all gotta understand that sometimes just because you're on TV, that does not mean you went from rags to riches. That just means you're on television. So you may assume, oh man, you made it now. You saw them on television. That doesn't mean they've made it now, okay? You can see an actor on television and be in one TV series or one movie, and you don't see them for a while. That doesn't mean that they've made it. But this affects other things because, looking at Black Rob, he had, health scares, diabetes, heart strokes, and whatnot. And it might be stress. And that's another thing that people don't set up their life sometimes, because if you're the breadwinner, you don't take care of yourself like you're the breadwinner. You take care of everybody else, and then you take care of you, which is backwards. You should take care of you first and then everybody else, because, from rags to riches, you might want to, if you have the money to, we have to make a different decision. Like, take that money and invest it in healthcare for life or dental for life. That way you don't have a health issue as you get older, because lump sum payments, though they may hit you on the front end, they save you on the back end. But nobody talks about things like that. If you're gonna buy cars, if you're gonna buy them new, buy them a year old. If you're gonna buy them used. But and if you're gonna buy a brand new car, make sure it's expensive enough that when you trade it in, you can get something for it. So it's like you're buying two cars instead of one. You know what I'm saying? But we don't talk about that. If you're gonna buy jewelry that appreciates in value. Normally, like watches, because the chains and stuff they don't appreciate in value. As a matter of fact, the more custom pieces you get, the more you can't sell it to anybody because it's custom made. So it's like it's nothing. But from rags to riches to rags, you know. And sometimes the family, when I was talking about the family dynamic, sometimes the family wants you to take care of them, and then they become a financial burden that it's hard to get out of because you taking care of your family, which means yourself, you know, maybe wife and kids, or just maybe you and your kids, and their family if it's just you and your kids because it's the child support thing, and then you're taking care of your immediate family, i.e. parents. That can just suck you dry and send you back to rags. So you got to be careful, man. You got to be careful, you know. And you notice the people that you've helped can't help you because either they aren't in a position to, or ultimately they don't care because they look at you like you're the one that was supposed to be winning. So they're not trying to win and bring something back to you. So that's a whole nother different dynamic. And the people that you might have been making money with, you know, normally that's just business. They're not here to take care of your personal life. So from rags to riches to rags, be careful. Like, share, subscribe, or die. Try and catch you on the next one. Peace.